I'm Tenitra Batiste, and I didn't want to see something I hadn't seen since 2014 with the Falcons today, but did.
I'm Aaron Freeman, and I'm still looking to see the Falcons because they weren't at the stadium today. Where did they go?
I'm Jarvis Davis. That absolutely stunk.
Rise up, A-Town. It's the Falcons Squad. Everything Atlanta Falcons every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the ATL. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Straight from the ATL, the Falcons Squad Show starts now.
Welcome to the Falcons Squad Show, your home for the best Atlanta Falcons football talk. I'm your host, Tenitra Batiste. Alongside me, our Locked On Falcons host, Aaron Freeman, and Locked On analyst, Jarvis Davis. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. And of course, this squad show is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Jarvis, Aaron, this is not the conversation that we thought we were going to be having when we spoke on Thursday's Falcons Squad Show. We literally thought keys to the game were things like making sure that the opportunities that the Minnesota Vikings defensive scheme presented to the Atlanta Falcons was something that could be replicated, but making sure that it wasn't stale and something that was easily schemed up against by the Carolina Panthers. And when we talked about the defensive side of the ball, we said, hey, nobody's asking for you to have a six-sack day again. We understand that's not something that can happen, but certainly, or maybe not replicated 2 weeks in a row, but certainly, can you give us a little something that'll look like it looked in week 2? And finally, special teams we thought we had solved. They're looking like the old special teams, looking like you got a kicker and you don't. So I absolutely am concerned, but I like, Jarvis, that you said it's not going to steal your joy. Aaron, you said it's not going to steal your joy. But again, then I asked you, Jarvis, you saying Zach, you said the team won't steal your joy, but will Zach Robinson. So I'm going to start right there. The Falcons went up I-85 in a quest for their first win of the season. And instead, they're coming back down 85, not only having lost the game, but having laid a goose egg. So let's start with Zach Robinson. You know this is a critical matchup because this is a divisional game. You want to get that first divisional win of the season under your belt. You can move forward. It's a team that on paper, you are more talented than, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So, Jarvis, how in the world does an offense that is supposed to drop, in your words, at least 28 points, maybe even 30, lose by 30?
Yeah, this was one of those games where you say this is a Falcon-y type game. And sometimes you can't explain what Falcon is. You just know it when you see it. And that's exactly what I saw today. This was so Falcon-y. Just the fact that Panthers was running zone coverage and Michael Penix just couldn't hit the side of a barn. Like, he didn't give his wide receivers a chance to catch the football. And then when he did, put the ball, at least give him a chance to, the wide receiver couldn't catch the football. It was just so much stuff that I just looked at him just like, man, I felt like, Michael Penix wasn't feeling the pressure. He was just kind of sitting there, just like, hey, man, your feet aren't in concrete. You can't move, move a little bit, move around a little bit, don't be a statue back there, because guess what? That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Didn't we say that last year about 18?
Yeah.
We're sitting up here, the man can't move. We can't move. Like, what's going on? Like, be a quarterback. Like, be a guy that can, that we think you could be. Like, I started to question a lot of things as I was watching this game. Because I was like, okay, Nine. Like, all right, man. Like, you don't really throw the ball over the middle of the field like that. I was looking at your little spray chart. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, this man refuses to throw the ball over the middle field? Like, what are we talking about? Are you not tall enough, or what's the deal? It's just so many things that I feel like that just happened throughout this game, and I was just like, man, this is such a Falcon-y type game. And I know that's not like super football analysis, but like this is, if you're a Falcons fan listening, watching, you know exactly what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Jarvis, that's scary to me though. And I know we don't want to panic. We definitely don't want to do an overreaction situation, but it is scary because Michael Penix, 18 of 36, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we'll come back to Kirk Cousins, 5 of 7 for 29 yards in just a second. But yeah, I literally was with one of my dearest friends, and we're listening to the game on the way back from South Carolina. And I can tell because, of course, you can't get the game until you get to a certain point in South Carolina, right? So we're listening to the game once we get there, and I can tell by the countenance. I'm watching on ESPN as well. I can tell by the countenance, however, of the play-by-play, this ain't right on all levels. All I heard in his voice was Falcons gonna Falcon. Like, that's what I heard. And then she said it because she and her significant other they're season ticket holders. And they're literally like, why does this freaking feel like this again? And I'm sorry, for me, Jarvis, that's a problem because this year, in no way, shape, or form, with all of the weapons, all of the tools that that this Falcons team has on offense, there's no way that this should be feeling like the Falcons are going to Falcon again. But Aaron, here we are, 30-0. Something that, again, we didn't ever think. I mean, I'm talking worst case scenario, Aaron. What was my last comment when we were talking about keys to the game? I said, hey, we just don't want a repeat of week 18 of last year. Like, we don't want a shootout because we want the defense to show that it wasn't a fluke, and we don't want to shoot. No, shutout. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, not shootout. We got a shutout.
That was exactly what you asked for. We didn't get no shootout. It was an out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, man, maybe out. Yeah, it was the wrong one. But yeah, Aaron, it's very frustrating because our thought was we'd be talking about a game where it wasn't a shutout. Or shootout rather, like last season, because we believed that the Falcons defense was for real. And we most certainly believe that this offense, with a healthier Darnell Mooney, a healthier Drake London, a Bijan Robinson that was starting to show exactly who he was, that this offense was going to, like, they were going to cook in Carolina. So why are we having this conversation, Zach Robinson?
As Jarvis said, Falcons going to Falcon. But, we talked about this last week on Locked On Falcons, talked about how this is a statement game, right? The Falcons can make a statement about, this is not the same old Falcons, because all week long, I'm just sitting here at the back of my mind. I'm like, this is a classic case of the Falcons. They get an impressive win, but it's always the thing in the NFL. You're never as bad as you think you are after a loss. You're never as good as you think you after a win. And I'm like, okay, they're going to come back down a little bit next week, but they have an opportunity to make a statement in terms of that's not us. We're not the team that opposing teams get right against, because Carolina was struggling, slow starts, getting into all these holes against Jacksonville and Arizona and having to climb their way out of it. And Carolina had their get right game. Like, they dominated the Falcons at all three phases. Everything that Carolina wanted to do today, they were able to do today, and literally nothing the Falcons wanted to do today, they were able to do today. So, yeah, why are we having this conversation? Because, as Jarvis said, this is what the Falcons do. And the unfortunate thing is, you didn't want to see this happen again for the Falcons. You didn't want to see this team be the team that they've always been when they're facing a struggling team, and just basically like, okay, guys, you can do whatever you want, get back on that horse and do whatever. And now, at the end of the game, the broadcast team was like, they're going to look back. Carolina's going to look back at the end of the season and look at this week 3 game and say that turned our season around. I'm like, yeah, it's very Falcon-y right there. If that's the case, we'll see. But, the Falcons made a statement. It was the wrong statement. It was a statement of, we are not, I don't know.
Yeah, like, there are no words.
It's just
no, Aaron, I hear you. Yeah, there's no words.
It's, and, coming off that win against Minnesota. And the other thing about it was, like, I think what you're talking about is like the expectation was this offense was going to have their get right game against Carolina because they were so dominant last year against this defense. And it's very clear to me that when we just look back at the results of this game, the Panthers defense was like, oh, that 38 points that we gave up in week 18, we got to fix that. We got to figure that out. And the Falcons were like, oh, no, it's good. And I guess Carolina made adjustments and Atlanta didn't. And that feels like what explains the difference in this outcome of this game, where Carolina came into this game very prepared, take care of business, and the Atlanta Falcons did not.
Yeah. And I think too, Free, you make a great point of how we were talking about this being a statement game, like a defining game, at least to say that what we saw last week wasn't a fluke on all sides, in all three phases. But I felt like, Jarvis, we did say, because it was interesting because I said, I don't want to call it a must win. And then one of you guys were like, no, it is a must win, because we looked at it from this exact lens. We looked at it from the lens of, you do want to be able to string wins together. You do want to be able to stack on to what you did last week in dominating in the ground game, and Chris Lindstrom just having this amazing performance, if you will, to be able to say, hey, we know that I don't have my guy here at right tackle, but I'm still going to show you that we can dominate and we can dictate how a game goes. And yet here we are having the opposite conversation. Yeah, we knew, like, ooh, spooky, scary Derek. Like, we knew that there might be that one guy. Don't get me wrong. There always is a spooky guy, especially in this first 5 or so weeks of the season, right? But again, Jarvis, it's the collective kind of collapse that to me is disconcerting, because I don't want to have a conversation where an offense this potent is only passing for 200 yards, regardless of if they got 131 on the ground. I don't want to have a conversation where, and we even talked about this as well, like, I would really prefer even not to have a conversation where Penix is thrown 36 times, because in my mind, you're getting real close to throwing 42 times, like we said we didn't want to see. So again, we're going to obviously have to look at the tape and break this thing down and really figure out what the heck went on. And that's going to take us at least the next about 12 or so hours. So definitely come back tomorrow. But again, Jarvis, when you maybe think of some of those moments with this offense and the way Zach Robinson schemed this thing, especially in the first half, right? We'll come back and we'll talk maybe a little bit more second half and get into some more specifics. But when you saw the first half, that opening drive, if you will, I mean, what did you see that said, hey, I'm not liking where this game is going. I'm not liking how they're scheming this thing?
I mean, there were some moments where, like I mentioned earlier, with you talking about Michael Penix, there were some moments where the right play was called. You know, the guy was open. Penix just missed him, and it was just so awkward. Like, the connection between he and Darnell Mooney was a little off. He was able to, complete some passes to him, but it was just with the ball that was like right in front of like Ray McLeod. It was just like, why? Then it was just so off the way Michael Penix was playing the quarterback position today, and I think that early on in that first half, they were able to move the ball in that opening drive. And you start to think about, okay, they might be able to do some things, and then it stalls out, and then you miss the field goal, of course, but the adjustment piece is probably what's bothering me the most, right? Like, because after that first drive, it was just kind of sporadic. It was just like, all right, you basically trying to call plays to try, let me see if this works. And, you had some good runs that popped to the left side of the offensive line. I'm like, okay, you guys starting to get a little movement over there, but you really couldn't focus in on that or try to continue that because you were down 3 scores, right? So it's just so many things that I feel like this offense got exposed today. And I think that's because of the foundation of this offense, what I've been talking about. Like, everybody was talking about, they're going to be throwing the ball all over yard. No, they're not. No. If the foundation of this offense can't be established to start games, that's exactly what it's going to look like. Until Michael Penix is able to prove it different. Like he can't, you can't not have that running game in your back pocket. I feel because of how dynamic Bijan Robinson is, because of your offensive line seemingly trying to get some type of momentum to be able to get guys off the ball and deal with those type of dudes that they at least one they dealt with today. You know, Ashawn Robinson had made a couple plays as well, so he was kind of unmovable at times throughout the day. But I think, you know, this offense got exposed, and after that first script of plays, it was just, hey man, they just trying to figure out something that can make it work, and it just was continual just midness and just badness from that point forward.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of makes those 23 carries for 131 yards of rushing offense feel like some empty numbers, if you will. But something that also might be concerning that Aaron, Jarvis, and I did not want to have a conversation about in week 3, it happened. So we'll talk about it in Next Up. This episode of our Falcons Squad Show is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. So if you've been playing Prize Picks lately, you know how much fun it is to stay locked in for the season, and it's quick, easy, and honestly going to be your favorite way to follow along with football. And you like checking out the projections, if you will, because you may have had Josh Allen. Does he go for more? Does he go for less than 270 passing yards? Had himself a night Thursday night. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. So again, you might like projections as well, because this is one of those crazy weeks where Aaron Rodgers, if you had him on your bingo card, throwing a go-ahead 17-yard touchdown pass for the Pittsburgh Steelers, to beat the New England Patriots 21-14 and have another one of those crazy offensive onslaughts from the Steelers, no doubt, then you got it right with Prize Picks. Again, if you want to check out Prize Picks, go to the Prize Picks app, use code LOCKEDONNFL, and get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineups, because with Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So Aaron, Coach Raheem Morris has said that he put Kirk Cousins in the game because it was getting out of hand. And again,
I just, do I have to take the do-rag off because we're going to talk about Kirk Cousins? Okay.
Out of respect for Penix, you want to be respectful. So I totally get it. So Aaron, for me, I'm just really sad that we're having this conversation in week 3, because this is something that was sort of that outlier conversation, right? Everybody had their thoughts about the Falcons keeping Kirk Cousins, and does it make sense? And why are he's the best backup in football, but we don't need him. We need to move on from him, so on and so forth. We were thinking worst case scenario, late in the season, maybe something happens where Michael Penix has to sit for a week or 2 because of a hammy or something like that, some lingering injury that he could come back with. In no story, scenario, or anything that we could have conjured up did we think we were going to see Kirk Cousins take the field in week 3 for these Atlanta Falcons. But again, as I said in segment 1, here the heck we are. Is this a bad decision for starters? Because I think that's going to be the question. First, about the decision to insert Kirk Cousins, regardless of if Ross said it's because the game was getting out of hand, and whether that's any type of a bad omen. So start with that. Decision, good, bad, you agree?
I don't have a problem with, the game was over. So like garbage time, we got to see Penix last year in garbage time. For me, it's not an issue. It's a non-issue. Like I'm not going to overthink it. For the rest of the world, because it's the quarterback position and because of the situation with Atlanta, everybody else on the planet is going to overthink it. So, like, is it a good decision based off of like other people are going to read way too much into this? And now we have to spend a week talking about this. Like, Michael Penix on the hot seat, and Kirk Cousins going to get benched, and like the Falcons can't trade Kirk Cousins now because he might have to replace Michael Penix by week 5 or so. All that stuff. Like, yes, it's a terrible decision based off of all that nonsense that we get to hear for the next couple of days. But like, when you take the internet nonsense out of it and all the talking heads that just got to fill time, on their shows and all this stuff. When you take that out of it, like, it's not a problem to me. The issue is not, hey, Kirk got in the game. To me, the issue is, how, Kirk should have gotten in the game when the Falcons were blowing out a team 30-0, not Kirk getting the game because the Falcons are getting blown out 30-0. So that's really where my issue is. But call me crazy.
No, I think you're just highbrow. So great that you're a highbrow, Aaron, and that you're thinking about it like you should be thinking about it, which is, it's garbage time. Any other team would have put in their backup quarterback at this point, if for nothing else. The game wasn't getting out of hand. The game was out of hand. And so instead of putting your QB1 in there and risking injury, no doubt, for a game that was already salted away, now you put that guy in. But Jarvis, we don't live in a world of people who think rationally. We also don't live in a world where he's just any old QB2. He's Kirk Cousins, the QB2 that was in place when QB1 took over for QB2. And he makes a whole heck of a lot of money, and he's on that roster. So again, good decision, bad decision you're okay with? I mean, what was your thought about that?
It's like an injury report, questionable. It's a questionable decision. I question a lot of things that Raheem Morris did today. Why are you going for it on fourth down? And you're on your own 40 and you're down by 3 scores. Like, I mean, what? I mean, like, seriously? Like put the defense back out there, see if they can get a turnover and give you a short field. Oh, you weren't able to do anything with that either. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. My bad. So it's just like, I don't. And given what everything that Free just laid out, that's why you don't make that decisions. Like, for what? Like, I mean, you don't put the quarterback in there.
Like, Jarvis, and I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I just feel like you said something that made me think, but keep going. I was like, you just you make more questions than answers when you make
right.
that kind
of Go ahead. Like, and you can't afford to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because of you made a decision to cut Younghoe cool. And John Parker Romo goes out there. I know we're gonna talk about it a little bit later. He stuck it up. He goes over.
He was cooing today.
So you see how all this just a big pile of doo-doo just piling up. It's just a big old pile of doo-doo up there in Carolina. You know what I'm saying? Like, that flight is. I promise you, the flight that they get on, they gonna stink. It's gonna stink. It's gonna be that's right there on the top of their lip, right there. It's gonna be just a stink, just right there, right up under their nose, and it's not gonna go away. And the question is going to come, and they're going to continue to come because you opened up the door. You opened up the door. Oh, let's put Kirk in. The game was out of hand. Yeah, we can see that, coach. But, man, why are you protecting him? Why are you protecting Penix? Why? Well, he's the guy, right? Why are you protecting him? Why are you protecting him? There's no reason for you to say, a lot of times you feel like, are you trying to protect him from being hurt? You think he's going to be hurt if he stays in the game? Or
that was my thought.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the only logic I could kind of put behind it. And I don't like the logic of, oh, well, the game was getting out of hand. I'd rather
bump that. I'm sorry, coach. Yeah. Bump that. The man he's a big boy. He's okay. He's going to have to learn how to play through stinky games because quarterbacks have stinky games. And you just can't say, oh, yeah, he wasn't playing well. Oh, let me just put in the backup in. But what? Really? Like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand that. That bewilders me that you say, okay, the game got out of hand. I'm taking my starting quarterback out so he can learn from the sidelines. I mean, what is he going to do? Like, oh, it's a preseason game. That's what it is. Oh, okay. Kirk needs some reps. You know what I'm saying? Kirk needs some reps. and might need to learn from the sidelines. Oh, that was last year, wasn't it? I mean, you see how many, like, all these questions just popping into my head based off the decision. It just, I should not question everything that you do. I question everything that doggone Raheem Morris did today. Did you prepare? Yeah. Did you practice? I ain't go to practice this week. Did the Falcons practice this week? Did they put in the game plan? What happened up there this week at Flowery Branch? I would love to ask Tori. I like, Tori, did it look like they did some normal stuff? Or they were just kicking it because, we top 2 defense. Woo, we're going to be straight. We're going to be 6 that's a game. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. It's all love, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seemed like it was such a lackadaisical type approach the way they played today. And a lot of times, like, you talking about how you practice how you play. I'm a firm believer in that. I didn't believe in that at first. But like the way you prepare, like Freeman made a great point. He said Carolina looked at that game and said, you know what? We got some things we need to fix off of that.
Yep.
They ain't say, oh man, we need to get that game back. We need to get those guys back. No, they looked at that game and said, here's the things that we can fix. Here's the guys and the personnel that they have in here. Here's who we're gonna pick on. Carolina game plan was clear. They wanted to move Teteroy, McMillan around so they can find a favorable matchup. And that's what they did. They did it. Canales did it consistently. Oh, it started in 6. Oh, and we need a completion. Yep, I know exactly where I'm going. I'm gonna put 4 in the slot because guess what? 33 gonna be lined up across him, and I feel like he can win. You know, because that's big brother versus little brother right there. That man 6'4", and poor little Billy Bowman is 5'9", 5'10", dripping long, wet, whatever you want to call it. Pause, all that stuff. Yeah, it's just like, I know I'm going on a tangent, T, but like,
understood.
Like,
because you didn't want it to steal your joy, but it's kind of hard.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm there. I'm there now. I'm upset, and the more I talk about it, you know what I'm saying, the more upset they're going to get. I'm trying to make sure, but just stop me if I feel like I'm rambling and I'm not making any sense. And I don't feel like I'm rambling and not making any sense right now because these mofos did not play well today.
Right. And you're being and that's a nice way to put it. Like, I mean, we just, because honestly, again, this is not the type of thing that this is not the conversation that we should be having. And I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things, or just kind of share a couple of things from post game. Of course, Tori McElhaney, senior Falcons reporter, she always joins us. She's one of our analysts for our Falcons Squad Show on Monday. So definitely you guys hang out with us tomorrow, where we will have had some time to check the tape. She'll be back in town, and we'll go through Monday morning therapy with you guys on this game, because we're all going to need it, like for real.
Y'all come.
Yes. But she did say, that Raheem Morris confirmed that Kirk Cousins will not be competing for the starting QB job this week. It's Michael Penix Jr.'s job.
I'm sorry, T. Go ahead. Continue. Yeah,
no, it's okay. That's okay, Jarvis. I was done.
This is a joke. This is a joke. I'm in La La Land. Are we in La La Land? The fact that you have to say that at the press conference. Well, we won't be competing for a star position this week because like it's logical to think that Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins about to go into a competition, you know, on September 22nd, and then whoever wins the competition is going to be the starter, and then the person that loses the competition is going to get cut. That's what's going to happen, right? Right? Isn't that what's going to happen?
It seems oddly familiar. But I guess we'll talk about that later. I don't know.
Yeah. We will.
Right. So let me ask you guys something that I thought this was an interesting stat that Tori put out there as well, but it's a bit of a head scratcher. And I know sometimes it's garbage yards, if you will, so it's not all meaningful. But she tweeted, Atlanta outgained Carolina by 109 yards today, 333 yards to 224. The last time that happened, where a team outgained their opponent by 100 plus yards while losing by 30 plus in a shutout, was November 1st of 1970. That's how rare this type of thing is. It's been over a half century. So yes, Free, as you mentioned, you've got some turnovers in there, so you can't not give credit to that also being a part of this margin of a 30-0 blowout win. But again, you did gain yardage. You did make moves on some level. But again, if I'm looking at the 333 yards to 224 yards, right, as a starting point, just yards, if you will. And I'm even looking at the passing first downs. You had more, 17 to 15. Rushing first downs, you had more, 11 of 7. So there were spaces and places where you found a way to, quote unquote, be effective stat line wise. But I guess it just makes me go back to, it has to be frustrating to get that and have, I mean, nothing to show for it. Like not even so much as 3 points, 7 points, 10 points. Like that's still very perplexing to how you can actually have that kind of effectiveness, but you can't even get close to getting a score. I don't know. I'm sorry. And that's, I guess, Jarvis, that's me. And Aaron, that's me with my little therapeutic rant breakdown moment, because I just find that to be an utterly foolish stat.
Yeah, I mean, they were moving the ball effectively, and then they would get across the 50, and then they would stop moving the ball. And it was just like, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, every time we get to a third or fourth down past the 50, it felt like everything just ground to a halt. You know, when you would try to get yourselves into makeable third down situations, you would have Michael Penix check the ball down to Charlie Warner without seeing where the defender is, and Charlie Warner get blown up for a 5-yard loss. You know, things like that. It just, you know, we've said it again. We'll keep saying it. Like they were not mentally, emotionally, physically prepared for this game. We saw this same thing happen to the Falcons last year against Denver. At least against Denver, you could say that was one of the better teams in the league with their defense. Much to Jarvis' chagrin with Bo Nix, it looked like a superstar that day, kind of similar to how Bryce Young looked at times on this particular Sunday. And, you know, no showing against the Broncos is one thing. No showing against the division rival Carolina Panthers at this stage in the season, I feel like is really where a lot of the issues come from.
Yeah.
And I continue to question everything because like you're 0-2 in your division right now.
Yes.
And you talking about you want to go to the playoff. This isn't what that looks like. You take care of the team that you're supposed to take care of.
Yes.
And I'm not going to sit out here and act like what I was feeling going into that Viking game wasn't real. It was real. I felt like the Falcons were going to be able to take advantage of what they were going up against, right? You know, I knew Kevin O'Connell. I like Kevin O'Connell as a coach. He's the quarterback whisperer and all that stuff. He's an excellent coach. And they basically out-schemed, overmatched that particular team. And I wasn't too surprised, right? But coming into this game, knowing what they were going up against, division rival, like Aaron mentioned, coming off that embarrassing loss in your house last year, right? It was just too many factors for them to come out and play like they did today, because that stunk. No one can honestly say they felt that this was coming right here. They really felt like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew this was coming. I'm not surprised by this. But yeah, and a lot of times when you have these type of performances, it's on the head coach. It's on the head coach. And that, I mean, that's it. That's all. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah. And while the offense definitely was putrid in its productivity as far as putting points on the board, we certainly can't lay this entire 30-0 loss to the Panthers at the feet of the offense, because, hey, defense, you got some questions to answer as well. So we'll talk about where the defense didn't do its job when we come back. This episode of our Falcons Squad Show is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game. It's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment to move the game forward is actually in a Steelers game. The Pittsburgh Steelers took on the New England Patriots, and everyone wanted to know if the Steelers could bounce back from their own ugly loss just last week. Well, Aaron Rodgers throws a go-ahead 17-yard touchdown pass to Calvin Austin III with 2:16 left on the clock. Steelers beat the Patriots and get it done at New England for the first time since 2008. So big moment in that game earlier for Steeler Nation and just for Mike Tomlin and that fan base to be able to bounce back. So, hey, look, when you follow what moves you, when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers under center who's able to march his team down the field, then the unexpected last week, that's only the beginning of what you can expect to go good this week and maybe for that team going forward. Now, just like there's more to every highlight, there's also more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. So Jarvis, as much as, this offense was absolutely sus. Defense, you still allowed 30 points to be put on that board. So when you look at this overall, again, I go back to what we said earlier. We talked about this on Thursday's show as well. Not only were we not saying that we necessarily had to have another 6-sack game, we also talked about the importance of still wanting to maybe, if you don't have the 6-sack game, maybe you look down that box score and you see maybe more of those quarterback hits, more of those pressures, more of those passes, defense, the tackle for loss, everything that's down the stat line that can still ensure that you as a defense is keeping that other team at bay. Didn't happen today. What happened to Jeff Ulbricht's defense?
I think the thing for me is I hate repeat offenders or repeating the same thing. I saw something in today's game that I saw in that last game against Mercedes at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Just allowing Bryce Young just to get outside the pocket, man. Like, do y'all understand how that can kill a defense? I don't care what type of coverage you're running. Like, now, granted, he wasn't able to complete passes down the field and all that stuff, but he was able to pick up a first down. He was able to score a rushing touchdown, and then that's that rushing touchdown, and then something that you weren't on the field for was a pick six. So that's 14 points right there.
True.
That you could have prevented. But you allow him to be comfortable for the most part, throughout that game. And not only be comfortable, you allow him to buy time and make a decision like, okay, do I want to throw it? Or do I want to take off for this run and score a touchdown? Like, you see how that is so much time for an NFL quarterback. I don't care how good you think Bryce Young is and what he's going to be in the future. Like, when you give a quarterback that much time, more likely than not, he's going to make the right decision. And I felt like this Falcons defense did that. They allowed that. And that was one of the reasons why the score looked like the way it did.
Yeah. And you think about the fact that, like you said, at the end of the day, if the Falcons turn the ball over 3 times, you hate that the offense is putting them in that position. And obviously one of them you really can't do anything about because that's a pick six. But Aaron, if you're given the opportunity on those other turnovers, and that's at a minimum, by the way, that's not talking about even the execution of the offense. But 2 things wanted to talk about, and that's one of them. It's your job still on the defensive side of the ball. And I know they did hold them to 3 field goals. So that's something, that's a bit of a win, but you still also allowed them to score 3 touchdowns. Or 2 touchdowns, excuse me. So when you look at that to me is still troubling.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the scoreboard, 30-0, your automatic instinct is to go, oh, the defense was terrible. And as you explained, T, like, the defense wasn't terrible, but it certainly was not good, right?
Yeah.
Because some of those points were, the offense putting the defense in a bad spot where Carolina basically started out, already in scoring position. And basically at that point, giving up 3 on that drive is a win for the defense at that stage, as opposed to expecting them to not give up any points. But, I think when you look at this defense, the expectation going into the game, because of the concerns that you had on the back end in the secondary without AJ Terrell, was that this team would be able to get Bryce Young and put him on the ground, something they did not do last time they played the Panthers in Week 18 last year, and we saw the Panthers offense, put up a lot of points when they weren't able to do that. And outside of what the Caden Ellis sack in the third or fourth quarter or whenever that was, which was one of those red zone stops that the Falcons got, Bryce Young wasn't really feeling that much pressure. And then on top of that, going back to what we said earlier, where Carolina was able to do what they want to do, they were able to run the ball pretty effectively up the middle. And Carolina's rushing offense is kind of built to kind of push around this Falcons run defense, right? When they get into their nickel fronts, they're not the stoutest. That was one of the questions Jarvis and I and T and you and others discussed throughout the summer, which is like, can they stop the run? And Carolina was just like 5 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards a pop. And when you're constantly able to get into manageable situations and convert on early downs, like Carolina was only like, I think 3 for 11 on third down. So it wasn't as if Carolina was like, the Falcons couldn't get off the field on third downs or anything like that. It was just like they couldn't get them to third downs in order to get them off the field because they were just able to do all the things that they wanted to do on some of those early downs. And so for me, when you look at this defense, even though it's not as bad as what the scoreboard says, the expectations in terms of stopping the run and getting pressure on the quarterback, and especially those two things basically tell you that the Falcons did not win this game in the trenches like we thought they would. And the expectation going into this game was that with the injury, Carolina down 2 starters on their offensive line, this would be an advantageous situation for this Falcons defensive front. And it just really wasn't. Like, you just didn't, I saw Lynn Floyd hit Bryce Young once, Caden Ellis got that sack, Zach Harrison popped a couple of times. I saw a couple of nice run stops with Jalen Walker. But, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember seeing Rukaroro do much. I don't remember seeing Brandon Dorlus do much. I don't remember seeing David Onyemata do a whole lot. It's just like, where was the performance we saw a week ago, in this game? And that was the thing I was hoping to see from this defense. Go out there and show me, hey, last week's dominant performance up front was not a fluke. And again, it's early in the season. They got a whole season left to go, but kind of looked like a fluke after watching it on this past Sunday.
Yeah, and I think it was a little frustrating too, Jarvis, that you saw, and you guys are talking about, playing in that nickel defense and maybe having those moments here and there where you're going to get pushed around, if you will. But there were moments where the Vikings O-line pushed the Falcons up front, pushed them around as well, and somehow they got reset, and we saw a better performance as that game went on. And not saying that it happened often, but at least you can adjust to it. So, I mean, what was the issue, Jeff Ulbrich? Why weren't you able to at least make some adjustments that maybe could slow down some of those leaky spaces where you knew maybe you were a little bit suspect or maybe could get exposed?
Yeah, I think for me, like, it's player based in a game like this, right? Because like the guys that Free mentioned, I'll defend Rukaroro a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I know this may sound weird. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that he made some good plays. Like, he barely missed Bryce Young on a potential sack on one time, and I saw he did some decent things in the run in the run game. But David Onyemata, where to be found? And that was a guy that was like, he jumped off. Like, I ain't even watched the tape. Like, this was live. Watching this game live, that was one of the things that just stood out to me. I'm just like, man, this is one of those things where I think this is like, I want to use an old school saying, and you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, or you feel if I'm off kilter, please let me know. Were they smelling themselves? Like were they kind of starting to believe their own hype? Like, because that's what this feels like. Because like, I didn't see David Onyemata doing his thing. I didn't see Zach Harrison, out there really getting it in the pass game. Like this, like you said, did some good things in the run. But I just didn't see. I didn't see that like that I got used to seeing, right? Even in the loss against the Bucs, I just didn't see it. Like, Did y'all start reading the press clippings? See, that's what I'm talking
That's
about.
what I
Like,
was
are they
just
starting
going
to
to
smell
say.
themselves? Like,
Yes. That's where I was going,
board.
Jarvis. Yeah, because you're talking about the youthful defense, and where as sometimes the youth is a positive and that they can maybe fly around a little bit more. That's not an excuse or an explanation for David Onyemata, by the way. But when we're talking about Zach or Rook or some of those younger players, then maybe sometimes you do think, yeah, I got this. Like, yeah, I got this. And then a team like Carolina will just humble you and remind you for maybe you don't got this.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, T. You know, this is you hear this often with players, particularly older players, when they think back to when they're younger, when, you know, especially when they go like join good teams and they're like, oh, we went to the Super Bowl my rookie year. Like, I figured this is what we were going to do every single season. And then we had like 6 straight losing seasons. And like the NFL will humble you real quick, right? That's the thing about the NFL is it's, you know, the week to week nature of it, you know, any given Sunday. You know, you talk about the top teams in the bottom team, like Green Bay lost to the Cleveland Browns today. You know what I'm saying? Like the NFL will humble you real quick. And I think that is one of those ups and downs that I think the Falcons trusting in the youth, like they don't know what they don't know. And sometimes that's going to be a strength and sometimes it's going to be a con. And it does feel like they probably went into, you know, can't get into the psyche of the players, but they probably went into this game feeling like, yeah, we beat up on the Vikings. We're good to go. We're going to beat up on the Panthers. And then the Panthers was like, not today, my friend. You got to come correct every single week in this league. You got to do all the things that you have to do. And as a young player, that's part of growing up in this league. And it did feel like I got a similar vibe watching the game today.
Yeah, Jarvis, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Like at the end of the day, maybe you take a slice of humble pie. I hate that you had to take it from a divisional rival because now you have the same record as they do, except they are one game ahead because they won, they beat you. But sometimes it has to look this ugly, and maybe too try to put a little positive spin on it. Although, sorry guys, we got to go back to the negative in the final segment, but put a little positive spin on it that hey, at least this is week 3. So you're still early enough in the season to work some of that out of your head and get your mind right on how to approach every single game with a championship must-win mentality. And maybe you don't have to, maybe this becomes a defining moment for this team and what it is that they're looking to do, and understanding that you have to bring it every single Sunday if you want to be in a conversation about going to the postseason. But like we said, it wasn't lost in 1 or 2 phases. It was lost in all 3 phases of the game. So yes, special teams, we're coming for you. This episode of our Falcons Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, most people, they absolutely love using FanDuel because it fits however they like to bet. Player props, building a same game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Also, that makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. Now, of course, we know for today, that's probably for Carolina Panthers fans because, hey, a 30-0 goose egg probably goes in your favor of this game having been pretty darn exciting. And if you were jumping in as the action was unfolding, especially across that second half where you got 10 points in the third quarter or 10 points in the fourth quarter, this was some kind of game for you. But the way to make it easy, quick, and even add a little more energy to Sundays is FanDuel. So download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Are you ready to play? Go to FanDuel. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. So Jarvis, everybody was on top of the world last week thinking that the Falcons had found their guy. And while you said that first kick from
Parker, why are you looking at me like that?
Huh?
I said I was asking Free why he looking at me like that.
I feel like I heard you and I knew like
you know exactly why I'm looking at you like this. So I'm just
yeah. We all know. Yeah, I was about to say we all know it's about to come, Free, because hey,
I feel a popular Free coming on right now. But you know, continue. See, my bad. I interrupted you.
All good. Because Jarvis, you know, you were excited. You were thinking, hey, other than that first field goal where it was like, but it actually went in. And then Parker Romo goes 5 for 5, like, yes, let's do it, right? And then we're going through the rest of the week and we're questioning, why are you talking about Parker Romo? It's just being 90% Raheem Morris, that Parker Romo is actually going to start this Sunday, blah, wah, wah. And then we get the news Friday, officially, that is, that the Falcons had released Younghoe. So you're thinking, at a minimum, you got the guy in place for a closer than we expected game that Parker Romo could still ensure that the Falcons win. And then today kind of happened. Like, for real, so Free, you said you were okay with Raheem Morris's decision. So yeah, I'm going to start in a petty space just for you. So you said you were okay with the fact that Raheem Morris said that the game was getting out of hand. So, hey, put Kirk Cousins in. That's not a big deal. You're not questioning that decision. But my friend, my co-host, my Younghoe apologist, after Parker Romo goes 0 for 2 today, what say you about the decision to release Younghoe? Was it right? Was it too soon?
T, you asked the hard questions. Was it too soon? No, I feel like given all the baggage we had with Younghoe going into the season, I understood why there was a quick hook. We just knew there was not going to be a leash for him to struggle, and to miss that kick in the moment that he missed that kick,
yes,
was certainly going to make it feel like instead of one missed kick, that was like 5 missed kicks, right? That was just how it felt. And then for them to turn to Parker Romo and him to go 5 for 5 in that game, like, obviously hindsight is cooking right now. It's stirring up a pot and everything. But like, at the time, given the information that we knew at the time, it made sense for the Falcons to make this switch. But now, in the classic Falcon way, as Jarvis says, very Falcon-y, that after the Falcons are like, oh, we went through all this months of drama and we finally found our kicker, and it's like, nope, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You got to go out shopping for another kicker. This is probably going to be a storyline for the entirety of the entire season. So,
Rodrigo!
So this is the Falcon for you. So as I was watching John Parker Romo miss these kicks, I'm like, okay, so kicking is going to be an issue for the rest of the season because that's just how it goes for the Atlanta Falcons. And we are here now. So guess what? Yeah, really great. Awesome.
The fact that literally Free just said he has resigned himself to the fact that for the rest of the season, we're going to be having kicker commentary is diabolical, Jarvis. But here we are.
Yeah. Again.
Did you make the
Raheem
right
Morris is like the middle name is questionable. Like, that's his middle name right there. Raheem questionable Morris. Like, but I don't question him for making the decision that he made, T. Like, let me start there. I think it's just it's interesting, like leading up to the season, the preseason is for you do stuff like this, right? Right. Get real game experience, you know what I'm saying? Get out there, kick the ball around and see what's going on. If you go 5 for 5 in that first preseason game, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? That's good. That's a good start. But he go 0 for 2 in that next preseason game, you're like, maybe we should reconsider. Read some literature. You know what I'm saying? And make sure we're sure. Like those are some of the things that you work out preseason. It's just unfortunate that here we are. We're working it out in the regular season. And if it's a matter of bringing in, I hate to say this because I never like to try to be this guy. It seems like Falcons fans are always trying to figure out who's out there on the waiver wire to bring in that's going to save the season, quote unquote. But, if they bring in Rodrigo Blankenship, I would not be mad. Why not? Like, this is where we are. Like, hey, can't nobody get comfortable at that position. Now the Younghoe gone. Like, hey, man. Hey, bro, it's rough out here in these streets as a kicker. Exactly. If you ain't making kicks, you can't be on the team.
Can't have a job. Sorry. You have one job.
Yeah. Hey, man, you gotta. It's a week-to-week deal. It's a week-to-week deal. So yeah, you haven't earned enough. 5 for 5 is really good. You basically won that game last week, sir. But going over, like, because that first kick, that thing looked like my drive. I played in the golf tournament yesterday. That thing looked like my first tee in the first hole, and I stink on the first hole of every time I play golf. I stink, I give a justification. I'm like, hey man, it's the first hole, baby.
Gotta get it out the way. Gotta get it out the way. Yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm first hole, baby. It's first hole. You know what I'm saying? I ain't warm up. You know what I'm saying? Even if I did warm up, I'd probably play the same way. But yeah, that first kick was oogly, T. Oogly. That didn't have a chance. It didn't have a chance. That bad boy went like this and it just I was like, yeah, man, your technique messed up, Jack. I don't know much about kicking, but I know when I tee off and that ball does that, someone right about my technique. And you better get that jump figured out quickly, bro.
Yeah.
Because people were pulling up tweets from 2020 talking about Rodrigo Blankenship. So hey, the Falcons doing whatever they can to not be talked about in this manner. So
right.
Like I said, I think free is a profit. I wouldn't be surprised if this kicking situation is an issue. I don't want it to be like that, but here we are.
Well, you guys also said it wasn't just laid at the feet of Parker Romo on special teams. So, like you said, they somehow, special teams, fell back to earth.
Yeah, it was tough, man. Bradley Pinion stinking. Just like, my guy, can we punt the ball more than 30 yards? I don't know. Like, maybe just try. I don't know. And then
they did work out a punter. They did work out a punter when they brought in John Parker Romo. They did work out a punter. This is a good man.
We're gonna have a punter competition. Okay, all right, let's. Liam McCullough, you're doing great. You're doing great, Liam. You're doing great. Snapping is not an issue. Don't let it become an issue, Liam. Though, if it becomes an issue, we're gonna come for you. But
for you too, exactly.
The thing, T, that really bothered me. Punter can have a bad day, right? Pinion's been solid. He can have a bad day, and it only becomes an issue because like the rest of the special team stinks. But the fact that the Falcons couldn't even field a kickoff the entire game, like every time they tried to field, what is this oblong shaped piece of leather? I don't know what this is. I'm just gonna fumble it every single time. Like, I don't know if they had a return for more than 10 yards in this game because they're just like, oh, what's going on? Oh, just jubbling the ball, fumbling. It was like they had like 4 different guys return kickoffs this game because like they were just like, nope, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. Like, what are we doing? Like, just catch the ball. Like, it's not even
Yeah, like this. Right. This is
how bad it was. T. Before you go ahead. This is how bad it was. The Falcons got a touchback and started at the 20. That's how bad special teams was today. That's how bad special teams was today. They had to figure out what the rule was. The Falcons are doing unimaginable stuff. They was like, oh, it's not on the 35. Oh, okay. If the person musts it and it goes out of the back of the end zone, they touch the ball and it goes out of the back of the end zone, it goes to the 20-yard line. When the last time? That's a stat I want to know. I would love that. I would love to know that stat. When the last time, since they changed the rules, that a touchback went to the 20-yard line? And you know what? The Falcons are always the first. They always the first with these little stuff. Just stuff first. Falcons are the first team to give up, blah, 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 blah. Falcons are the first team to be goose egg by the Panthers since what, 2014, T? Like, that's
exactly what it said. The last time an NFL touchback resulted in the ball being placed on the 20-yard line was before the 2016 season.
You see, oh God, that's what I get frustrated about, man.
Yeah,
this type of stuff.
And then when you look, like Free was saying, when you look at the stat line and you see kick returns, Ray McLeod, 2 for 32, Natron Brooks, 2 for 27, but these are the kickers. Nathan Carter, 1 for -1, Ray McLeod on the punt return, 2 of them, no yards. That is not even close to the recipe for winning a game or flipping a field to give your offense an opportunity to score easily, or giving your defense an opportunity because you pin somebody back. If we're talking again about Bradley Pinion, I mean, you just cannot do this. Like, winning teams, winning cultures, winning mindsets, like none of the things that we've mentioned, a pick six, if you will, not being able to flip the field, missing field goals, like all of them, they really sound like, hey, I'm just gonna like be at the bottom of my division where I am.
T, has your boy turned into Oprah? Has Marquise Williams turned into Oprah? You get a return. You get a return. You get a return. You get a return. Everybody, like Jarvis, get in there. Like, hey, okay, I might as well. Shoot. Everybody else, doggone, get an opportunity. I can doggone fair catch that bug and doggone and get to the 35. You know what I'm saying?
Marquise Williams. I mean, they had Marquise Williams running for his life in his little head. He just like that. Yeah. I mean, but again, this is one of those where you sincerely hope, and hey, Falcons fans, we know how you feel. Your comment section more than tells us that you are triggered. But all you can do is hope against hope that this is not that kind of game. All you can do is, or situation, excuse me. All you can do is hope against hope that this is a situation that is an anomaly. It better be in week 3 for Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson, Jeff Ulbrich, and all 52 of y'all. Like, it better be an anomaly, because this, in any way, shape, or form, maybe from the starting kickoff to the 0-0, this cannot happen again.
We just thought about the same thing I thought about. I don't even know what he thought about, but I think we thought about the same thing just now. I'm sorry, T.
So y'all, I guess you guys will have to turn into the squad show. Tune into the squad show tomorrow, and maybe we'll let you guys in on whatever Jarvis and Aaron are cooking up in their heads, along with Tori, of course. So thanks to our everydayers for making the Falcons Squad Show your first listen of the day. Now it is time for you to let Aaron Freeman put you back on the couch.
Petty Aaron, baby. It's coming out. I can't wait.
Yes, he's there for you guys tonight. And of course, we'll be there for you guys tomorrow on the Monday Falcons Squad Show. Be encouraged, Falcons fans. It's still a Sunday. God bless you, good people.